Hello and welcome to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Now today, this show right now, the one that you're watching, we're making history. This is a banner show. This is our 200th taping. I can't believe that we've done 200 shows, but it's been great sitting here with a wide array of guests, basically here to talk to you and tell you the things that you want to hear so that you know what's going on in your community, what's going on in your city, and how these folks pitch in to help to make your everyday existence just a little bit better. So today, we have Mr. Jeff Ross, who is running for the a citywide seat on the Boston City Council. I've known Jeff for quite some time. He's an extraordinary young man. I mean, he really is, when you talk about advocates, he is a true advocate, and he will definitely give his all if, in fact, he does secure one of those seats on the City Council. So without any further ado, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of a historic moment, the 200th taping of your show. So thank you for having me today.
Who knew? How about that? That. Hopefully that's a harbinger for good things to come. So listen, let's get right into it. Why are you running for the City Council?
I'm running for City Council to, quite frankly, work to uplift the impoverished families of the city of Boston. I came to Boston 19 years ago with a small bag of belongings and a pair of jeans. My mom was a waitress and my dad a laborer, and I was the first in my family to graduate from college, and there were times my mom worked for minimum wage and we couldn't afford to buy heat for our apartment, and she heated the place with an oven. And one of the things that she taught me is it doesn't matter how many cars you have parked in your driveway or the property that you have. What matters is that you leave the community better than you found it when you go outside. And so, that rule applied in the kitchen too after meals, that I had to leave it a better place. And so I grew up with a strong work ethic, and my campaign is about uplifting the impoverished families of the city of Boston. And, it's a struggle that I've had to face, and I think that I have some ideas and insight to bring to the city council. We have 120,000, residents of the city of Boston living below the poverty level. That means they earn, $12,000 to $14,000 a year when it costs $66,000 a year to have a stable life, to raise a family, and give kids, the foundation that they need. So I think that, there are ways that we can work on those issues. I think it's important for our future, that we create a society that isn't socioeconomically divided, because I think that will put the city in a precarious position.
So that said, what are the top 3 issues that you're really stumping on?
So the top 3 issues that I'm really concerned about are job creation, economic development. There are ideas that I have around education and breaking down barriers in the city. I think as our city becomes a more inclusive and compassionate place, that it becomes a safer place for everybody. And so those are 3 of the top things that I would like to work on. We have public safety concerns that we've been in the press a lot lately about, talking about how I think that, we can redirect resources and address some of those issues. I'm a fan of the work that you do on recidivism, and it's part of something that I care about a lot. So.
Let's talk about education. Let's start there. What are your views on education, and what would you talk about? What would you advocate for if you're on the council?
Well, education, I think that I'd like to see pre-K seats for every child in the city of Boston. I think that giving kids an early start is vital to setting them on a path where they have a little extra time in the early years to establish a social support network around them and to get a little bit of a jump start on the education process. I, in my law practice, work with unaccompanied minors, meaning children that don't have parents, and we get them into a stable home. And once we get them into a stable home, we get them evaluated for English as a second language, learning disabilities, or early childhood trauma and violence. And when they start getting the services they need, they start improving, but more importantly, they start believing that they can succeed. And I think that's part of the key here. I'd like to see that in the Boston public school system. I've been fighting for it and advocating for it in every neighborhood in the city. And we used to do it 30 years ago. And so I think that we have an opportunity here to work within the system and address some of these issues. Some neighborhoods in the city of Boston experience more violence as a community than other neighborhoods, and that impacts children, and we have to look for a way to make our children and our communities healthy.
Talk to me about public safety.
Public safety. There's been a lot of back and forth right now in the press. We have a city council that is holding up a vote on an arbitration award. I'd like to see a vote before the election, so I've been pressuring and lobbying councilors and being out there on the forefront of this. I think that we have an opportunity to redirect some of the resources in street safe to communities in the city where we've seen upticks in gun violence and address some of those issues. I've been to community meetings across the city, and there's a huge outcry to do something about it. And we talk about it at the federal and state level, but there are things that we can do on a local level. So I'd really like to see us as a city take the opportunity to do something for folks in the communities that are speaking out the most on this. I support community policing, and I'd like to see a neighborhood watch coordinator at the city level hired to do community organizing, to work to get more folks from neighborhoods participating in these programs and collaborate with local law enforcement. I know there is a piece there, but I think that there's more that we can do. My neighborhood in the South End, I've lived there for 20 years now, and 19, 20 years. And I've seen that neighborhood change when residents get involved, and we have good partnerships with the mayor's office and with local law enforcement and community groups. As people pay attention, and start investing more in their communities, and looking out for each other and having conversations about what's going on in their communities, we create a safer space and we make progress in the city. And that's why one of the reasons why I'm running. I care a lot about it, and I've seen how change can happen in a positive direction.
Talk about job creation and the economy. How does the city council, how do you factor into that? What kind of discernible impact could you have?
Yeah, I think that we have, we look at other places in the country that are struggling. In Boston, we've been very fortunate with the mayor's leadership. We only have an unemployment rate of 5.9%. It's too high for the city of Boston. There's more work to do, but compared to other places, we're doing pretty well. And I think that that's because we've kept our debt service at the city below 5% a year and not taken on more debt service than we should. I think that smart economic stewardship of the city has helped us get to where we are. I'd like to see job creation in the areas of small business. I've been out advocating across the city that we invest the city's reserve deposits in local banks that are doing business or headquartered here in the city of Boston to incentivize those institutions to do lending to the community. We need more lending to women-owned businesses, immigrant and people of color-owned businesses, and we can back those lending programs by collateral or deposit insurance, but we can create vitality and jobs in every neighborhood and help small businesses expand and be supportive. I'd like to see local markets that provide healthy, affordable food in every neighborhood in the city, and I think that that's one way that we can create jobs, bring revenue back into the city's coffers. And we talk about development. There's been a lot of dialogue this election season about development as a way of creating jobs, and we know that some neighborhoods need development more than others. Mattapan, I've walked through there and door knocked and met with seniors and families that don't have accessibility to affordable and healthy food that's walkable, and so we need to draw investment and development where we have transportation infrastructure and create housing and markets in some neighborhoods. So I think that will create jobs, it'll grow the tax base for the city. And those are some of the ideas that I have. I want
to connect two things. I want to connect education and I want to connect job creation.
Sure.
When you look at this, one of the things that I'm really interested in is vocational education. And clearly the country has moved towards being more of a service society, economy, what have you. But when you look at voc ed, that teaches folks skills. Carpentry, landscaping, custodial maintenance, painting, printing, urban farming. You can talk about the culinary arts and so on and so forth. Now, there are a lot of folks that aren't really looking at going to college, but clearly they want to earn a wage that will provide for them and their families. Talk to me about, on one side of the coin, where you come down on vocational education, and then connect that to job creation?
Okay, vocational education. I have taken a tour of Madison Park. It's one of the building facilities in the city of Boston as part of our public school system that is the most advanced technologically, and it's in great shape. It's unfortunate that when you walk through the cafeteria that it's sitting empty, and there's an opportunity to create vocational programs there. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see a study conducted about where the fastest growing sectors of jobs in the Boston economy are, and then I'd like to see our vocations partnered with trades and other institutions when you talk about, our urban farming and other areas, culinary arts. We need to look at areas where the economy is growing the quickest, partner with the trades, and create programs and paths to employment for folks as they move into, the program at Madison Park, so that we create hope when people know that they're starting out and they are on a path and there's incentive for them to succeed because they know there will be opportunities available to them. I think that we change that, we change the level of hope, we change the direction of lives of some of our young folks in the city of Boston, and that's an important issue that I want to champion.
Why the city council versus state rep, state senate?
I love the city, and I'm out there.
But you can serve the city as a state
Sure,
rep or a
it's
state
true.
senator.
Yeah, you can. I think that as a citywide city council, you have an opportunity to create dialogue in every neighborhood in the city. I love every neighborhood in the city as much as I love my own, and I know that as a state representative, I'd be able to work with each of these neighborhoods. But I think that on the city level, it's the form of government closest to the people. There were times when I struggled when I was transitioning from high school to college where, I was homeless for brief periods of time, and I know that at City Council you get homeless calls as the number one issue, number one volume of calls, and I'm not the type of counselor who would check out of my office at 5 o'clock every day when I know there are urgent needs of people, and I think that we need to address those. A Home Start program funded by the state of Massachusetts was zeroed out in the budget this year, and that means just here alone in the city of Boston, we have 1,300 families that have no place to go. So when we look at what we're doing with the city's budget and we talk about contracts and arbitration awards, we need to be mindful that we have to have a baseline of covering some of these other areas and having a social safety net for folks that are going to be homeless, and look for ways to address those issues.
So let's talk about Jeff Ross now. You say that for a time you were homeless,
Yeah.
and now you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your intestinal fortitude. What inspired you basically to really redirect your life and move from being homeless to doing what you did by achieving, going after and achieving a law degree, which is not an easy thing to do, to sitting here today talking about running for city council? How did you do that? Because I know there are a lot of people that are watching and want to know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm much of a different person than I was back then, but what I do know and what I can relate is that I was bullied as a kid when I was growing up. I wasn't openly gay back then, but clearly others in the community knew that. I got beat up on the playground, and I had to seek, refuge in the cafeteria for safety. And folks there taught me to cook, and I got involved in that and became an expert cake baker and won a cake baking contest by the time I was in 6th grade. And what I didn't realize at the time is that I learned a resiliency to refocus. And I struggled through high school. I didn't always fit in, and when I graduated, I had to go to a community college to make up the gap that there was for the learning that I didn't have when I was in high school. And somebody in my life sat me down one day and said, just decided that they were going to mentor me and give me ideas about what it took, the gumption that it took and the dedication to get through college. And that changed because my parents didn't graduate from college.